Morning everyone, welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma and this is our daily editorial analysis. Can you hear and see me clearly everyone? Good morning, happy Women's Day, all the women here. Thank you so much everybody who's wishing me. Thank you so much. You guys know how important this day has been for me. You know, I've always worked for the equality and I believe in that. Thank you everyone. Good morning. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible. You too, Ragini. Happy Women's Day. May all of us make each other proud. May all of us aid each other's growth. That's what we should aim at. Good morning, everyone. All right, so before we start off with the session, let me take you through a few things. So today is, what date is it? I don't even know. Today's 8th. Yeah. So 8th of March, and I'm going to take two articles. One is from the Hindu, the other is from the Indian Express. We'll be taking these two articles. But before we start off with that, since it is Women's Day, let me bring you a gift. We have flat 20% off going on all our classroom programs. So, and men can use this code too, not only women. So my gift to all the men and the women in my class, you could enroll yourself using this code by availing 20% discount. This is the code. Make sure you make the most of this offer right now. If you're targeting the crash course for CLAT 22, batch 3 has been launched. And I'm sure because CLAT is not far away, I'm sure you would want to enroll yourself at the earliest. Considering you 20% off, the right time. Do it right away. If you were targeting the CLAT 2023, that's going to happen in December. The comprehensive prep course batch 2 has been launched where I'll be teaching as well. So I'm sure you would want to enroll yourself for this as well as at the earliest because you don't have many months left for CLAT 23 as well. And last but not least, if you're targeting MHCT, ALED, SLAT, BLED, JAMIA, these law entrance examinations, then a separate batch 2 has been launched, which will help you prepare for these entrance examinations. जल्दी से enroll कर लो, wait मत करो किसी भी चीज का. Good morning everyone and happy Women's Day everyone, to men as well as women and to people who don't this, that I believe into this, and to those people as well who don't associate themselves to either genders, either sexes or both, irrespective of your sexuality. Happy Women's Day everyone. What are we going to do in the class today? Thank you so much everyone for wishing me, and I wish the same to you. So what are we going to do today? We'll take up two articles, one from Hindu, one from the Indian Express. We'll do the vocabulary from these two articles, try to memorize that. We have a lot of repeated words today. In the end, we'll discuss the tone of the author. One thing I would like to tell you is that for a few days, possibly 2 to 3 days, very likely for this week, I might not be able to make questions in the articles that I discuss. I can ask you a question then and there, but I might not be able to make direct questions. I'll try to. I don't promise that though, because I have another thing that I'm a little more occupied with that needs more time of my schedule. So I will still try, but I can't promise that. But we are nonetheless are going to be discussing questions every day, and we'll have a tone of the author in the end. And you may tell me the summary of each article under my video in the comment section. In the end, we'll look at today's Hindu and Indian Express and we'll see what are the important articles. One more thing, yesterday's Indian Express was full of very important articles. I might take one more article from yesterday's newspaper in tomorrow's editorial discussion because I don't want to miss out on those articles. So that's going to be our agenda of the day. Yes. All right. So happy Women's Day, everyone. Happy Women's Day. Let us all make each other proud. Let us all support each other. Let us all aid each other's journey. That's what we're going to be doing in the class. So, vocabulary from today's editorial. Can we start? Ready, everyone? Okay. So, the first word is here. Ad hoc. According to the requirement, then and there, when you decide to do something. Instantly, because the situation demands you to do something, that instant preparation, instant action is ad hoc. So discussions were on an ad hoc basis. The discussions were depending upon what is happening instantly around them and what is the requirement. So according to the purpose, what is necessary during that period of time, it's an ad hoc one, not a planned one. Something that's not already pre-planned is ad hoc. Okay. The next one is dynamics. Ad hoc can be temporary. Yes, absolutely. Yes. It could be temporary. Yes, of course. The next one is dynamics. So dynamics are things that can alter your decision, that can impact your growth, things that are constantly changing. Okay. So the dynamics of the changing social relation, the things that impact the social relations, these things that can be actually constantly changing, which hamper your growth or aid your growth, these things are dynamics. Something that surrounds you is dynamic. Okay, ad hoc can be ephemeral. Yes, Shafi, it's a related one. Not an exact synonym. It's ephemeral is a related one. Hey Mitra, good to see you after a long time. Okay, so emergency for ad hoc. Yes, emergency could be for ad hoc, a related word. The third word, exacerbate. We've done this word so many times in the past that you should know the meaning of it. Making anything worse, more severe is exacerbate. So the exorbitant cost of land in urban area only exacerbated the problem. It only made the situation worse. Sporadic, बोल सकते हो? Yes, Hemendra. Yes. Deterrent नहीं होगा बच्चे. No, no, no. Deterrent cannot be the one. Okay. So exacerbate is making something more severe. Yes. Worsen. Yes, Violet, you're right. Worsen. Okay. So the next one, harbinger. Harbinger usually is a hint of what's going to happen in the future. Okay. So which hazels are the harbingers of spring? So when you see which hazels, you know spring is about to come. It's an indication. Okay. So indication, hinting of what is going to happen in the future is harbinger. Harbinger of doom is an idiom we use a lot. Harbinger of doom is okay, doom is about to happen. If we don't work, IPCC's report is a harbinger of doom. You can say that, right? Can you? A messenger, a prophecy, heralded, portend, foretell, all are synonyms. Very good. Yes. Yes, Anushka. Antonym has to be ameliorate. Correct. Herald. Yes. Prediction. Yes. Correct. Prophecy भी हो जाएगा. बिल्कुल हो सकता है. Prophecy can also be a harbinger. Alright, the next word is appalling, like deeply shocking or horrifying. That deep shock or horrifying situation is an appalling one. Not appall, but appall. Okay? Bankers are appalled at the economic incompetence of some ministers. Oh, it's a shocking thing to them. They are horrified. It's such a bad situation that it is appalling. Okay? So prediction नहीं ostensible नहीं होगा बच्चे ostensible related हो सकता है not an exact synonym. Okay, I'm music beast. Pre-notion. Okay. Dire हो सकता है appalling. Yes. Scandalized. Yes. Yes. A sign and indicator. Ragini. Yes, that's for harbinger. Shake up, shock, staggering, terrible, all are synonyms. Slide number 1. Take a screenshot very quickly, everybody. Staggering हो सकता है, shocking, dumbfounded, deplorable, related होगा deplorable Hemendra. Okay? Terrible. Next slide. Throttle. Okay. You know what throttle is? You know that, right? So, but how is it contextually used? Throttle is when you push the entire power of the engine is when you push the throttle full throttle. Okay. So basically, contextually, it is when you put in every ounce of effort that you can is full throttle. Once your boards are done, no. If you're in 11th, once your 11th is done, full throttle get into CLAT preparation. That is how you can use. Because 12th वालों के लिए तो अभी तक delay नहीं हुआ है examination, and I've been telling you इसके डिले होने के चांसेस काफी नेग्लिजिबल हैं। होगा भी तो बहुत मार्क के साथ डिले नहीं होगा मे का CLAT. So even if it is delayed, it wouldn't be delayed for really, really long. Don't rely on that fact, okay? So throttle is putting in entire, a whole set of effort is throttle. Okay. Horrible for, ठीक है, appalling हो सकता है. Next one, conduit. ये हमने last class में, नहीं, last week we did it multiple times. Yes. So it's usually a channel through which water can flow. So basically, free flow passage of something is a conduit. Nearby spring supplied the conduit which ran into the brewery. Oh, spring water into brewery. So it's usually a passage like a canal, a passage of water. So free flowing something through something else is conduit. Okay. Accelerate, yes, that could be throttle. Absolutely. Entire effort, yes. Morning, friends. Okay. So, yes, let's move on. Siren. Okay. All right. A canal, yes. Mascot is usually something that brings good luck. So, when we see the Olympics, we usually have a mascot, right? An icon that would represent the Olympics or any other game, like Commonwealth Games, right? We usually have a mascot. So, there is a sign that represents that would bring in good luck. A sign that can be associated with something else is a mascot. So team's dolphin mascot. So dolphin was the mascot that they thought would bring them good luck, and the team would be represented with the dolphin. That's a mascot. Okay. Okay. Citadel. Citadel. नहीं. Mascot को talisman बिल्कुल बोल सकते हो. Yes. Where to apply for CLAT? On the consortium's website. Okay. All right. Let's move ahead with the next one. Tinderbox. Nothing related to Tinder. No. A tinderbox is usually something that is used to, it can easily catch fire. A box which can light it up. Okay. Thing that is readily ignited can easily catch fire. That is a tinderbox. Dry-ins and no rain have turned parts of the state into tinderbox. It can easily catch fire because there is no moisture. It's dry and there is no rain. So there are patches that can easily catch fire. You know, I'm going to talk about forests today. Yes? No. There are no chances of CLAT 23 that's going to happen in December to be postponed. Please don't buy this. No chances of that being postponed. That's exactly why it is happening in December, so that it doesn't have to be postponed unless and until we humans create another ruckus like COVID's 4th or 5th wave. Unless and until that happens, it would never be postponed. Don't buy that. Okay? All right. So let's move on. Blaze. Blaze is like bright light, usually through a fire that comes out. The bright light is a blaze. So the gardens in summer are blaze of color, bright, shiny colors, bright light. That is, those bright colors are blazing colors. Yellow, red, bright ones are blazing. And the last one, sinister. For those people who've been solving word power made easy, you would know this word. Sinister. Yes? So sin is the root word here. Okay? Sin means bad. So sinister is anything that, an act that's bad, that's harmful, that's evil is a sinister act. So there was something sinister about that murmuring voice. I could hear something bad was happening, something evil was being planned. That's sinister. Slide number 2. Take a very quick screenshot, everyone. Okay, so blazing, conflagration, okay, related one. Doom, bad, yes, that's for sinister. Hazardous for sinister, yes. No, actually, Rajiv, that's not, I'll tell you, it's not actually a slang. Rather, yeah, actually, you could call it a slang. I would agree with you. Sorry, I would agree. Conflagration and fire for blaze. Okay. So now let's move to the articles, everyone. These were the vocabulary words. Let's see. First article. Okay, so you know what's happening in the world, specifically related to Ukraine and Russia. You know that. I'll not talk about that. But we'll talk about the role of media in this entire conflict that's going on. Because you know, media को किस तरीके से, how have people, countries ruled over media, they've curbed media, how sometimes media is responsible for altering the beliefs people have. See, what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, how does it reach you? It reaches you through media. It could be print media, it could be TVs, news channels. This is how it reaches you, right? So that is why media has a very strong role in impacting what you think. You may genuinely be supporting Ukraine or Russia, that's completely your take, but a lot of it can be influenced with what you see on media. And that's exactly why Russia has banned all these channels who promote Ukraine and vice versa as well. So we're going to talk about media and its role. ठीक है? Ghosh, sinister हो सकता है related word. Okay? So, Music Beast, I don't think this is the right class to discuss all this. We'll have a separate session on that. That would help you. Maybe please focus back on the class. Inimical for sinister. Yes, बिल्कुल Alifia, बिल्कुल हो सकता है synonym. Absolutely yes. So here we go. But now that media can actually impact your decision making or your thought process, a clear protocol is needed which governs media from spreading any hatred or any false news. Let's read the article. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has brought multiple questions to the fore on the validity of international laws. So we know that multiple international laws were made ad hoc, multiple were broken. Some people actually decided not to say anything, like we Indians. We decided not to say anything at the public international platform because we had to keep both the parties happy. Fingers have been pointed at the accepted norms of state behavior. That is, accepted norms were taking sides. We did not take sides. Cyberspace is no alien to these. So this breaking of international law and its validity can actually hamper cyberspace as well. That is, cyberspace can also violate international laws. Yes, we saw that happening. So cyberspace is no alien to these questions, where ad hoc standard setting has been practiced as a norm for decades now. You know, cyberspace works on ad hoc mode. जो होता है आसपास उसको वो पिकअप कर लेते हैं और वो उस पे काम करते हैं. अब यूपी इलेक्शन चल रहे थे. Everybody was talking about UP election. But the moment Russia did an attack, UP election, nobody talked about that. It is ad hoc. What comes in front of us, we take it up. We talk about that. So, the challenges specific to the case now, that is the Ukraine conflict, where Russia is clearly the aggressor state. We know that the aggressor one is Russia because they started the attack. Now, what's the reason? Let's not take sides here. Let's look at the author's opinion. And here, the challenges through the cyberspace is not new regarding the Ukraine and the Russia conflict. Armed conflicts within and between the states have played out in cyberspace for years. Cyberspace mein conflict is nothing new. We have seen that happening. We have seen that happening more than any other country in our country, I think. These cyberspace conflicts, people fighting over cyberspace, right? It is no surprise then to see the same dynamics play out on social media platform as well. The increased attention is undoubtedly a function of the location of the conflict, that is Europe. So we know in Europe it's even more important these days. The struggles of the Ukraine population facing Russian aggression are by no means to be ignored, but the world outside Europe and North America has seen more than its share of conflicts, materializing and exacerbating the troubles of kinetic conflict through cyberspace. What troubles have we seen beyond Europe here? What is the author referring to? Who's going to answer that? What troubles have we seen? What troubles have we seen beyond, outside Europe and North America through cyberspace? What is the author referring to here? Who's going to answer that? I don't know, Ragini, why is that happening, bache? Because on YouTube, I'll ask my video team to get it rectified, okay? Who's going to answer this? What are the troubles? Fuel hike, okay? Okay, okay. Hmm. The ban, yes. Cyber attacks, yes. Hate speech, yes. All of that. On top of that, the point is that social media platforms have tried to follow tech neutrality to avoid taking decisions that may be considered political for too long. So they obviously aren't taking sides, which is a good thing for now. But then if you see a clear aggressor, is it not necessary for a tech giant or to take sides or a media platform to take sides? Because you can influence decisions. The years that have passed have seen an active ignoring of the concerns around social media platforms during the conflict. Social media can impact your decision making. Social media can start wars, it can solve wars as well. But since people try to adopt for tech neutrality, we have seen people not being involved into any kind of conflict. It does not help that the harbingers of a free and open world did little to create norms for social media as a new dimension for conflict. This worrying but under-addressed concern has been a looming threat since the world learned about its use by the Islamic State in the early 2010s and continues to complicate our understanding of the limits of warfare. Now, media can be used to ignite warfare, but it can also be used to settle it down. A lot of media giants, a lot of they try not to be involved into any kind of taking sides. But if one side uses media to promote itself, we saw that with the Islamic State and its promotion in 2010. When one side uses it, why don't we promote and publicize the other side as well? Agreed to that? The lack of clear system within social media companies that claim to connect with the world is appalling. They say we are connected with the world, but why one side of the story is shown and why not the other side? That could be Russia, that could be Ukraine as well, either of the sides. It is time that they should have learned from the multiple instances as recent as the Israeli use of force in Palestine. We saw Israel and Palestine पे force use किया. The media could have played a big role. Media did not. Right? और कौन सही दिखता है कौन गलत दिखता है उसमें भी मीडिया का रोल था. Media tried to avoid that. We did not learn from that. We see that repeating in the Russia and Ukraine crisis. Absolutely, Samar. That's exactly the point. They don't want to lose their large users because when they take sides, they would probably lose a large set of audience. In the context of conflict, social media platforms have multiple challenges that go unaddressed. What could be the challenges? Content moderation remains a core area of concern. We saw that in our country. We saw, you can link this point to the Facebook revelation that had happened from the whistleblower. Remember that the whistleblower had said that Facebook doesn't control these posts that are written in vernacular languages because they would bring in views and likes. That was the revelation done. So, content moderation, it still remains an area of concern where essentially information warfare can be operationalized and throttled. These corporations do not have the obligation to act responsibly as is expected of a state. And here comes the need for any international law that governs any media. Because if there's no international law that governs the media, why would any media, be it print, be it online, be it social channels, why would they have an obligation to control unnecessary information floating on their channels? Yet, their sheer magnitude and narrative building abilities place a degree of undeniable onus on them. How? See, एक बात बताओ बच्चे, मैं classes रोज लेती हूँ आपके साथ. I come. If I use this channel, express my opinions, and then influence you, am I doing it right? No, I'm not. And that's exactly why you see me never taking any side. Because the onus is on my shoulders. It's my responsibility to make sure that my narrative building ability doesn't hamper your understanding of the reality, doesn't hamper your decision making. You need to see things from a neutral perspective and then be a decision maker. That's exactly is the magnitude of narrative building ability, and the onus is on the shoulders of the media. After years of facing and acknowledging these challenges, most social media giants are yet to create institutional capacity to deal with such situation. They don't. They absolutely don't deal with the situation. They actually shake it off their shoulders. Yes, कंटेंट मॉडरेशन क्या होता है? कितना कंटेंट जाना चाहिए, क्या कंटेंट जाना चाहिए, क्या वो डिस्टर्बेंस क्रिएट कर सकता है एक कंट्री में? दैट इज व्हाट इट इज. Okay, that's the content moderation. Ad hoc responses to many predictable scenarios do not create an image of responsible action from such corporations. जैसे आती है चीजें हम वैसे ले लेंगे, वैसे डील कर लेंगे, कोई प्लानिंग नहीं है. These ad hoc responses, even when you have predictable scenarios, you knew Russia is going to act. When you knew Russia is going to act, you knew Ukraine will be in a less advantageous position. Why did media not react on that? Why did media not plan on that? Why did media act ad hoc on that? That's another problem that's being brought out from the author's perspective. Additionally, they also act as a conduit for further amplification of the content to other platforms. Yes, of course. They actually let the information flow to other platforms as well. We take Hindu classes. From where do we take them? Hindu newspapers. That's acting as a conduit. Yes. These editorial articles are acting as conduits. Yes, they are. Major social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter also provide space for extremist views from fringe. Yes, the same revelation. And these platforms, they don't control such posts because they get views and they get likes through that. So all these extremist ideas, you saw the IS promoting itself. Anybody can do that for that matter of fact. So where the degree of direct relation to the user generating such content is blurred. Even though these big platforms create special teams to handle such content, the magnitude overwhelms the teams that are sparingly staffed. So the problem is there are teams, there is AI to control these extremist posts. But आपके family में, tell me something, your family, you must have these uncles and chacha and tau and mama in your Facebook added. How many of you, these uncles and mamas and chachas and taus, do you see sharing pro center or completely anti center posts? How many of them do you see doing it? Either completely pro, all Hindutva full of that, or completely anti center. Do you see them doing it? Yes, I'm sure all of you do that. And why do they go unchecked? These extremist posts, why do they go unchecked? That's because one, they are sparingly staffed, they don't have ample of people. Yes. Two, their AI isn't efficient enough. Okay? So that's the point. And you're actually lucky, Shreya, because my Facebook is full of such. Now, even though these big, so they are sparingly staffed, it is also a concern that the mascots of the liberal world, where such fringe social media platforms are registered, do little to regulate them. Who is he targeting here? Who do you think the author is targeting here? Who is the author targeting here? Who do you think is the author targeting here? It is also a concern that the mascots of the liberal world, where such fringe social media platforms are registered, do little to regulate them. Now, Facebook, okay, ठीक है? It's America. Yes, it's USA who the author is referring to here. Because you call yourself the mascots of the liberal world, and you aren't actually doing anything to control these media platforms who your land is where these are registered, but you do nothing to regulate them. So where is your international law coming into scene? Finally, it is necessary to reassess the domestic regulatory framework. So international is necessary. We also need domestic regulatory framework on social media platforms. But when our government came with a regulatory law for social media platforms, there was such a big hue and cry. No, 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 it's violating our fundamental right of freedom of speech. ये भी तो हमारे साथ प्रॉब्लम है. Transparency and accountability need to be foundational to the regulation of social media platform in the information age. So, see, accountability is needed. Transparency is needed. We need to know. But that shouldn't be extremist. Remember that. The moral standing for initiating any change to the global order must stem from a domestic policy that reflects protection of the interest of the people over that political masters. People, the citizens, are more important than politics is. Anything, and these political matters, be it national or international, our interests are the priority, and domestic laws have to ensure that, and then comes into the scene the international laws to regulate the media platforms. We must stray away from the trend of regulatory norms that are deeply infringing on the rights according to the. देखो, अकाउंटेबिलिटी होना जरूरी है, ट्रांसपेरेंसी होना जरूरी है. इसका मतलब you need to have laws to regulate media platform, but not such laws that infringe your accountability and transparency and your basic rights. So we should not move back to the colonial era where everything, if you had to say anything, no, it should be curbed because you don't have the right to speak against the Britishers. That shouldn't be the kind of law we have. Uncertainties of conflict overwhelm people and institutions. The dangerous conflagration of social media as the civilian public square and site of international conflict will not bode well. That is, our social media combined with the public international conflict, this actually does not go well. It can exacerbate the problem. A protocol that outlines the norms of behavior on social media during such situations, during the time of the wars like this, we need to have a proper regulation of what can the media post, how much can it post, and can you actually ban media? Because that's what Russia has been doing and other nations have been doing. तुम्हारा channel हम नहीं चलाएंगे, हमारा channel तुम नहीं चलाओगे. Is it permissible at all? Where's the transparency? Where's the accountability? That's missing here. A protocol that outlines the norms of behavior on social media during such situation can help addressing the magnitude of evolving factors. It is in our normal national interest and that of a rule-based global polity that social media platforms be dealt with more attention across spheres than with a range of reactionary measure addressing immediate concerns alone. Abhi concern hai, ad hoc usko handle karo. No, we don't need that. We need a proper planned media protocol that needs to be followed. Board well matlab sahi se nahi jayega future mein. Okay? So, what's the tone of the author, everyone? What's the tone here? What's the tone, everyone? A lot of people messaged me they did not get this article yesterday. Yes, it's critical. Berating. Yes, yes, Harsh. Critical berating. Absolutely. Mostly critical. Okay? Let's look at the second article, everyone. Shreya, I tell you that every day in the end. What to read and what not to. हाँ, you're right actually, अली यही हो रहा था. चलिए next article देखते हैं जल्दी से. Forest dwelling. A few years back, I don't remember the exact year because I remember solving that passage. A passage in CLAT, I think good 5, 6 years back, I don't remember the year. A passage came in where a law was passed where that actually prohibited the tribals living in and around forest cover areas to collect anything from the forest. It banned these tribals. And the tribals were visibly pretty upset because their lifestyle was dependent on forests. They used to collect medication from forest, forage food, get their own wood because LPG doesn't reach every household. And you know what happened after that? A forest caught fire. And these tribals were so miffed with the government for not letting them get into the forest and forage for medicine or fruit or firewood. The forest caught fire, and the tribals decided not to control it and not to let the ministry know that the fire happened. So instead, and this article came in one of the previous year CLAT papers. So this article is a similar one, and something of this sort can come in the examination. So that the law that the government had made, instead of actually promoting the well-being of the forest, it had an opposite impact. The forest was vanished. So here we go. This article is a similar one, talks on this similar pattern. Let's understand what it is about. No, Danish, more than analytical, the previous article has to be a critical one. He's completely criticizing the absence of media protocol. Here we go. Learn from forest dwelling, tribal communities to fight forest fires. Summers are approaching. We know fires are on its way. Who would control them? We would, but mostly these forest dwelling tribal communities would. But only if we let them do it. India's varied forest habitat. Yes. India's varied forest habitat is a giant tinderbox. It can easily catch fire, that can release vast amounts of carbon dioxide, imperiling lives and livelihoods, if at all it catches fire. But if safeguarded and thoughtfully expanded, these very forests could be vital in slowing down world's warming by drawing down greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. So, this same forest habitat can do two things. If it catches fire, it can destroy everything, it releases so much CO2 that our greenhouse emission will shoot up. But if the same forest is controlled and if it is left to be flourished, we know that its impact on the environment will be miraculous. These very forests could be vital in slowing down the world's warming by drawing down the greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. In combating wildfires, we can no longer continue to ignore the critical role of our allies. Who are our allies? Who are our friends here in controlling the forest fires? The forest dwellers. Dwellers are the people who are residents, who live inside or around the forests, and the tribal communities who again live in or around the forests and earn their livelihood or go on with their lives with the dependency on the forest. Inaction on forest fires would have grave consequences for the country. In 2021 alone, large blazes in Simlipal Tiger Reserve in Odisha, Uttarakhand destroyed ecosystems. By the way, I, with my own eyes, have seen the Uttarakhand fires going unaccounted, unchecked, dry trees, no water, and blazing fire over the entire hill. The sight would give you nightmares. So it destroyed the ecosystem of species from the microscopic to the magnificent. छोटे छोटे species से बड़े बड़े, including us, everybody was impacted, releasing thousands of tons of carbon. So all the species were impacted through the fires. This trend is increasing across our planet. The new UN report describes a global wildfire crisis primarily because of climate change. Of course, because it's warming up, the heat is going up, and because of the heat wave, all these dry forests can easily catch fire. In India, data on this issue, the forest cover more broadly, are either scarce or sketchy and will be critical to guiding the decision making. India's ecosystem are closely intertwined. That is, they are easily linked with each other. That's intertwined. It buffered for a second. Is it buffering? Is it fine now? Is it fine now? Better? Is it fine? Okay, here we go. So, our ecosystem all related to each other. As a part of the Paris Climate Accord, the Indian government committed to adding forest and tree cover as the carbon sinks to absorb only data hai. Data says simply, I'll explain this, that our forest cover is necessary. All of this data adds on to it that our forest cover needs to be vast, it needs to be maintained, and that's necessary if we need to control the climate. That was discussed in the Paris Climate Accord as well. Given that these tribal and local communities live in forests or on their fringes, that is, these are the forests, either they live inside or at the border of these forests. In the blame that follows the blaze, those who have the least power and voices are often cast as the villains. Of course, these tribals, they're minorities, and they're considered to have no voice. And in a country like ours, we always see that somebody who doesn't have a voice is always blamed. The fire went unaccounted because of you. You probably have set the forest on fire, or you did not inform us. However, an emerging understanding from ecologists and grassroots organizations indicate how communities can be allies in arresting and preventing fires. Rather than they being blamed, they can be our allies. These tribals who live inside and at the fringes of forests. In Simlipal, for instance, the tribal people were on the front line for battling fires last year because their livelihood is dependent on the forest. They can never be the ones who would put forests on fire. They would be the one protecting it, like frontline workers. And as the summer looms, women's self-help groups have been clearing brush, that should be bush, and creating fire lines. You know what fire lines are, right? So usually burning a uh, patch that would go straight in the form of a line, so that if this area catches fire, it isn't transferred to this area, and that's how you create fire lines. You burn this patch so that the wildfire is protected from spreading. For centuries, forest department dependent communities across the world have fine tuned in a balance between their needs and natural world's regeneration. तो उनकी नीड नेसेसरी है, उनकी डिपेंडेंसी जरूरी है, बट इसके साथ साथ इस नेचुरल पैच का रीजनरेशन भी जरूरी है. Their thoughtful practice are the principal reason for the health of large part of our planet's ecosystem, research has found. However, in India, long-standing mindset from a colonial forestry model have transitioned into a fortress-style conservation. What is the fortress-style conservation here? What is he referring to as a fortress style conservation? And why is he calling it colonial and acerbic? Why? Why? Explain this to me, everyone. Why is it a fortress style conservation? Why? I'll explain this. Nine. I don't think anybody got it. I'll explain this. A fortress style conservation Ali, you're right. Rules and regulations of the government because it prohibits people at times. Yes. देखो, the author says in India, our mindset comes from a colonial forestry model. ये forestry model क्या था? Colonies owned the forest, right? They said ये forest मेरा है, मैं यहाँ timber grow करूंगा, मैं यहाँ timber काटूंगा, but तुम यहाँ enter नहीं करोगे, ये तुम्हारे लिए permissible नहीं है, तुम enter ही नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि मुझे इस एरिया को प्रोटेक्ट करना जरूरी है. तो तुम ट्राइबल हो, आई डोंट केयर, तुम्हारी डिपेंडेंसी है फॉरेस्ट पे, आई डोंट केयर, इसको प्रोटेक्शन है तो ये बार्ब्ड वायर लग गया है, तुम इस एरिया को क्रॉस नहीं करोगे. आई बिल्ट अ फोर्ट्रेस, nobody can enter it. So when you deal with tribals like this, they will reiterate. If you keep the communities out, they will reiterate either by stealing or possibly not letting people know if wildfires are spread, because it's a fortress that you built around the forests. Got that, everyone? Exactly. Yes, Ankita, that's the point. So this marginalization manifests itself in an energy poverty that leaves many tribal communities dependent on firewood for basic needs like cooking in the 21st century. We know they don't have access, they need firewood. A fundamental shift in making India's forests less vulnerable will also require being clear-eyed about problematic community practices. So, क्या problem है? If they want firewood, how can we ensure they don't take firewood from the forest? By providing them LPG. So we need to work on the fundamental cause of the problem. Apart from the accidents and negligence, flames can leap over into wooded areas. When they light firewood into the fringes, it can actually spread like wildfire. Occasionally, there can be sinister issues like intentional arson to clear forest land for agriculture. Yes, that also is true. So we need to address this problem. However, tackling these challenges should move past blaming communities to addressing root causes of issues like incentives for unsuitable farming. So we know that these communities can create problems in the forest, but building a fortress around the forest will not help us. We need to address the core issue here. What's the tone of the author? Absolutely, Ali. So कोई और solution ढूंढना पड़ेगा government को. Not as much though. Not as much. Tone of the author. Concerning and analytical. Yeah, I would agree. It's concerning and analytical. It analyzes what's, but more than analytical, it's concerning. If I had to choose one, I would choose concerning. Okay? Yes, it's concerning now. Correct. Absolutely correct. Okay, guys. बच्चे मूवीज ये इसलिए है शायद बिकॉज आपने लेट ज्वाइन किया था. ठीक है, एक लाइन में जिस्ट बताती हूँ, लास्ट लाइन एक्चुअली इसका कंक्लूजन है. यस यस, आई टेल यू द जिस्ट ऑफ दिस पैसेज. जिस्ट इसका हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों में बताती हूँ. हिंदी में ये है कि फॉरेस्ट जो हमारा कवर है उसको प्रोटेक्ट करना जरूरी है. ठीक है, उसको प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए ट्राइबल्स का जो इन्वॉल्वमेंट है वो इक्वल होना चाहिए. ठीक है, और कुछ एरियाज में हम उनको ब्लेम कर सकते हैं क्योंकि कई बार वो जानबूझ के फॉरेस्ट को दे पुट फायर टू इट बिकॉज उनको लैंड चाहिए कल्टीवेशन के लिए. लेकिन इन चीजों के पीछे एक रीजन है उनकी डिपेंडेबिलिटी ऑन द फॉरेस्ट पॉसिबली, या फिर अगर वो वाइल्ड फायर के लिए वुड कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं तो उनकी डिपेंडेंसी है फॉरेस्ट पे. तो हमें एक ऐसा रास्ता निकालना पड़ेगा कि हम ट्राइबल्स को ब्लेम ना करें, साथ ही साथ हमारे फॉरेस्ट को भी प्रोटेक्ट करें. और ये ध्यान में रखें कि ट्राइबल्स को हम ऑब्लिजरेट नहीं कर सकते हैं फॉरेस्ट से क्योंकि उनकी डिपेंडेंसी हाई है फॉरेस्ट पे. और दैट एवरीवन, वैभव आया समझ में, मोविज आया समझ में. I'm going to share today's Hindu and Indian Express, but before that, today at 12:30, I am starting off with a series of revision of English. Many questions to solve for 4 days. Where is the series going to happen? BYJU'S Exam Prep BBA YouTube channel. Find the channel on YouTube, subscribe to that. Find my class at 12:30. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 4 days English revision. Make sure you find me there. Let me share today's Hindu and Indian Express in the background. And let's see what are the things we need to study today. Please give me a second, everybody. Here we go. This is Hindu and the Indian Express. Sure. Visible, everyone, in the background? Both. You're right, Graceful. That is going to happen actually, but we need to find a way in between. What Shahi next week. WATP next week hoga classes. I'll let you know when that happens. Skim through it. Skim. Yes. Yes. Read it in detail. Read that in detail. Yes. Very important. Yes. Yes, my children, yes. Text and contact. It's full of Women's Day articles today. Skim. Leave. Leave. Yes, you can. Oh, have you read 100 Years of Solitude? If you've read, you could read this article. I'm not trying to buy any of these things. Let's see the. Okay. मैम फिगर ऑफ स्पीच की क्लास बच्चे करेंगे जल्दी करेंगे is a more human society possible? Okay, I'll take that tomorrow. I'll take that tomorrow if you want me to. Okay. Here we see the Indian Express. How invasion of Ukraine could transform nuclear landscape in Asia. Skim. Why India is misunderstood abroad. Skim. More women in politics will strengthen democracy. I would like you to read that. Post-pandemic spending for recovery. Yes. With the plight of students in Ukraine. Skim. Skim. Oh, leave. Kim. This Kim. That's all. That's all, people. I'm going to see you at 12:30, everyone. Revision series हो रही है बच्चे शाही. Okay. All right, everyone. Have a very good day. See you at 12:30. Bye, everyone.